So the last couple months, I guess, couple weeks for sure, I've been working on this app that I have as an idea called Blueprint. It is a privacy-focused tracking app, very similar to Datum, which is everything's out in the public basically as you track things. But I wanted something focused on privacy, and I wanted something to be slightly focused for like the trans community is where I had it really in mind. So I went to the App Store and I found some apps that do what I wanted this to do, and I focused in the same community, but they weren't privacy focused as much as I wanted them to be. Like, they are private. They do allow for private things to happen. And I believe that the privacy policies all account for privacy first. The issue for me is that they were all hosted on Firebase or Amazon or something like that. Not really given privacy by default. So I wanted something that gave me privacy by default. And for that, I chose to make Blueprint. And that is because I can use CloudKit and Core Data as my backends. And with CloudKit and Core Data, honestly, by having, I always go for the private database first, because then I don't see any of the user's data. And that was really important to me. Again, privacy by default. So as the developer, I literally cannot see what people are putting into the app, which I think is absolutely amazing, and probably, honestly, some of my, probably one of my favorite things about CloudKit and using Core Data. So this weekend, what I did on it was, oh, coffee's ready. Hold on. So like I was saying, I love using CloudKit because it is a privacy focused like database, which is super awesome, super great. It means I don't have, as the developer, I don't have access to see what users are putting in unless there's a different database, like a shared or public database, which honestly, I'm even using the public database in my app for feature flags in case I want to turn on features that have been developed but haven't like fully made its way out into the world yet. So maybe I don't want to, like, I want to do like a slow rollout of features, or maybe I actually just want to test it only on like test flight users or something like that first and get feedback. But I don't want to hold up like sending out the app to production, like to the app store to check out. So there's stuff like that that I built in with the public database, which is pretty cool. And what's even better, for at least on my front as a solo developer, indie developer, is that the stuff you put in CloudKit and Core Data is completely free, basically, for the developer, from what I can tell. Like, I don't have to pay Apple anything to use the database, which is pretty neat. What I have noticed is that the data I do store in the CloudKit on the private database does count towards the user's iCloud storage, though. So that's like a little bit of an issue if you have a user that is really filled up on like iCloud space. Um, I don't plan on storing images, at least in CloudKit, so I don't see that really being an issue. If it ever does become an issue, that's a good thing in my mind. And then I'll have to actually pay for, like, I'll have to figure out the server situation and keeping things as private and secure. I really like that it's private and secure. So if I were to ever implement like a database that I have to keep track of everything in, I'd have to figure out how to do it, how to encrypt it and how to make it to where I still don't have the data. But this weekend, I kind of wrapped up the next major feature of the app, which was importing and backing up your data. It's not really a backup; it's more like an export of your data. So I probably need to change that label, but a user can export their data into a JSON file, save it anywhere on the app, and then re-import that file. So in theory, if you do the right markup, you can actually probably adjust it yourself and put it back in, which is kind of neat. Again, just another way that users can kind of own their own data. So what I'm about to put in next, there's one more thing that I'm really waiting on before I can like open it up and send it out to beta users, and that's implementing actually in-app subscriptions. I started StoreKit 2 stuff yesterday. And then there's also, I want to make it more like trans focused, basically, at this point. You can track anything, you can do anything like that, but there's nothing really in there that's like solidifying it into that like trans community, which is fine. But that kind of, but like I want a specific demographic to use this app or know that this app exists. So like for me to do that, I need to put in some other things that are kind of helpful. And right off the back, the only thing I can really think of are like, so it's like a tracking style app. You can track with, you can put what items into categories. So suggest specific items and suggesting specific categories right now. And then, other things will happen as time goes on, and hopefully I get some suggestions and stuff on how I can make things better. So those are really the main things I want to add in. And then one other thing is I want to be able to add in like a reminder feature, but I think that's going to take some kind of server component that I'm not quite sure how to do yet. But yeah, so that's like a status check for Blueprint. I think I have a previous video that kind of describes it also as to what I did and where we're at. But yeah, so that's like a dev vlog number 2 of Blueprint.